Congratulations, you found the one station that plays Ghana's best urban music. YFM.
Panda, 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 panda. I got broads in Atlanta, just to be in the family. Credit cards in the scammers, hitting the licks in the van. Legacies, family, wait and see, look like a panda. Going out like a Montana, honey killers on the hand.
Listen to YFM 107.9 Accra, 102.5 Kumasi, and 97.9 in Takoradi.
This nigga bullet your bandit, hope we killers on the.
Now, today on the Leaderboard series, we're joined by a marketing and event specialist with over 20 years experience in management of public, corporate, and national events, audiovisual, and TV production. She's, led the production of major public events like the annual Ghana Music Festival, A Night of 1,000 Laughs, comedy series, Miss Malika Ghana, and several local and international concerts, which have featured international stars like Jay-Z, Shaggy, Busta Rhymes, Boyz II Men, Akon, Chris Brown, and others. Madam Theresa Ayoade is the CEO of Charterhouse Ghana, a subsidiary of the Multiple Concepts Group. First and foremost, thank you so much for joining us on the Wiley Leaderboard series. My guest for today, and of course, you, the listener at home. If you want to join in the conversation, the hashtag is Wiley Leaderboard series on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're live. Y1079F. Make sure you check us out on there. My guest is joining me on Zoom, so kindly bear with us if there are any breaks in there. We're going to make it as fun as possible. You might want to join us on Facebook, though, so you can listen on your radio set and also join us on Y1079FM on Facebook. We're streaming live on there. If you want to see Madame as she talks, kindly join us on there. Let's welcome Madame Theresa Ayoade, YFM style.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. This is actually my first time on YFM, so I'm really excited.
And trust me, you're going to have a good time.
I can imagine.
I wish we could maybe start off with music, but we're going to do that later.
Okay.
Do you love music?
Yes, I do. I do.
What kind of songs do you listen to on a regular day?
I like reggae.
Reggae?
I like reggae.
Okay.
Yes. I like.
Can you sing any reggae song?
Well, I don't really sing them, but I just like them. I like the rhythm and the beats. So one of my favorite artists is Steel Pulse, and UB40. I grew up in the 80s, so.
Wow. Before we start the talk, though, let me just commend you on the good work you've done for our industry. I mean, you are part of the people who have been behind the scenes for so many years, pulling off great events. I grew up in Kumasi. I'm a 90s baby, and I fell in love with TV and events on TV through events like A Night of 1,000 Laughs, Ghana Music Awards, all these events. And so it's super inspiring, for me to get this opportunity to talk to you. And of course, I speak on behalf of the many listeners we have, the young ones who have plans of getting into the industry you've been able to conquer.
Thank you.
Super successful in there. So first and foremost, kudos on that.
Thank you.
We're super happy to have you on here. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
Great. So, Mommy, let's start. All right. Let's start with the Theresa Ayoade story. Let's start from the genesis. Tell us a little bit about your formative years, where you spent it, and what kind of family you grew up in.
Okay. I like having these kind of conversations because I feel that it's very important for young people to understand the genesis of everybody's story and not just look at the finished product and aspire for that, but to aspire to learn how they got there and the lessons to be learned therein. So I'm really happy to be here on YFM. I do a lot of stuff with the YFM, but I've never really been on your program or your station before, so this is really nice for me. Now, how did it start? Well, I grew up in a family of 7 children, and I was right there in the middle. I was the fourth. 3 boys, 3 girls, and I was the fourth girl. So we grew up we had a pretty good, family life. My father was a banker, worked with Bank for Housing and Construction, and my mother was a seamstress, what you'd call a designer nowadays. And we grew up basically helping around the house, helping my mom to do whatever she had to do at home because she worked from home. So we grew up working a lot from home with my mom, helping her in her dressmaking business. And I went to school at Achimota School. I'm a thoroughbred Accra, as I like to say, from Form 1 to
Okay.
from Form 1 to Upper 6. I would say that Achimota School really had a very profound impact on me because as a student of Achimota School, you were always told, and it was ingrained in our minds that we were seeds, water to a thirsty land, basically.
That's true.
So we had to go out there and make an impact wherever we found ourselves. And they would always regale us with stories of all the great people who had passed through Achimota School, and they kind of made you feel that you had no choice but to be great, and but to do something great and something outstanding and impactful. So you came out of that school with a sense of purpose and a sense of importance in my space, and I've got to make something of my life. So that was really what the foundation that Achimota School gave me. It was a very competitive school, so you really had to fight to find yourself and to bring out the best in you. And I'm happy to say that I believe I did my best, and I came out of that successfully. But it wasn't all that was in my life. Started out nice and comfortable and cushy, but it really took a downturn after that. And my father had some run-ins with the military government of the day then. I'm sure most people who grew up in the 80s and 90s were aware of all the revolutionary, processes that Ghana went through, and how a lot of individuals were targeted and persecuted during that period. And unfortunately, my father was a victim of that period. So he lost his job, and everything just went downhill for the family. So having grown up in a cushy environment, we all of a sudden found ourselves with nothing. And that's when I had to really discover myself. I had to really dig in and find out what was I really made of, what did I really want to make of myself, and how was I going to pick myself out of this. The kind of disruption that brought into our family meant that all the carefully laid out plans that my father had laid out, my parents had laid out for us, could not follow that trajectory. So at that point, after A levels, the original plan was for us to continue our studies in the UK. Had gotten admission to the University of Kent at Canterbury, to study economics, and that was my trajectory. I really wanted to be an economist. My dream then was to work with the World Bank and to solve the world's problems. So that was actually my dream, because my father was a banker. So I really wanted to be a banker, but I didn't want to work in the banking sector. I really wanted to work at the international level and to solve problems. And at the end of it all, I think my driving force has always been about impact, about making impact. And I always want whatever I do to have an impact that is visible. So that's has always been my driving force. So that was right from a very early age. That was the career path I had designed for myself. And so I did all the applications when I was in secondary school and got the admission. And then my parents sent us, my sister and myself, to the UK, presumably to start a university degree. Unfortunately, it was while we were there that all of this ruckus happened at home.
That's happened.
So there was such a big disruption that obviously we couldn't continue on the path that we had set out to do. So here was I, stuck in the UK, not getting the money to pay my fees, and then eventually having to decide whether I was going to keep staying on there in London or try to find my way back to Ghana. At that time, a lot of people were so eager to get out of Ghana. I'm sure you remember the song that Betty was Stone made, Yabansu Visaneya. You know, because that was that was a trend at that time. Everybody was checking out. Everybody just wanted to leave because, I mean, the revolution and all that was going on, and there were a lot of strikes on campus, etc. And it just wasn't working well for students. So everyone wanted to check out. So here was I already there, but I just felt very uncomfortable because I said to myself, listen, I came here to go to school. And if school isn't happening, what do I do? I don't want to waste my life. I felt that at every stage in time of everybody's life, there should be something you should be doing, which is what you should be doing at that stage in your life. So I was so mindful of that at this stage in my life, between the ages of 18 to 22, I should be schooling. I should be doing my tertiary education. I shouldn't be distracted about just working and just, you know, earning some few pounds in my pocket and feeling I'm all cool. So I always had this dissatisfaction in me that I have to be in school. I have to be in school. I have to be in school. Unfortunately, things were not good at home. So it wasn't happening. Yeah. And so I was really in a dilemma because what even made it worse was that I had actually done my first year at University College London. So the plan was for me to do my first degree at University College London and then move on to London School of Economics, LSE, to do my master's in economics. But I had just done 1 year and all the disruption had taken place. So what do I do? So I decided to take a year out and work. So I worked in London as a student. I did all the stuff that you can imagine students do when they go to London to work. Wow. I worked in retail. I worked in shops like Tie Rack, The Gap. I worked in supermarkets. I worked at a till in supermarkets, you know. I did cleaning. I did all sorts of things just to survive as a student while waiting to see how things clear out, you know, at home and how I could proceed. Because there's no way as a foreign student in the UK, you can actually work to pay your fees. There's no way. So it was just, you know, something to just keep me going. So after a year, when things were still not working, it was obvious that I had to drop out. And that was a big blow for me because I felt, oh my God, what do I do? So after staying on to work for another year or so, I decided, you know what, just working here without a plan is not my purpose. It's not what I'm about. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to go back home. Everybody looked at me like, what? You're going back to Ghana? I mean, when everybody wants to check out, you are there, you are coming back. And I was like, yeah, because I felt that I had a purpose. I wanted to go to school and I wasn't schooling. So fine, I can work, but this work I'm doing, this retail or whatever I'm doing, it's not me. It's not all I am about. It's not all I can do in life. I have big dreams, I have big aspirations. I feel I can do so much more. I can have so much impact. I'm not satisfied with what I'm doing. So I feel that I'm a Ghanaian. Ghana is my home. And if there's anywhere I feel I can prosper and I can make it the way I see myself making it in life, I feel I should go back to Ghana. I mean, when I called my parents and I said it to them, they were like, are you sure? Because obviously things were really bad at home. I mean, things were really tight. And they felt that having sent some of us abroad, at least the pressure will be eased off them and they will be able to take care of the little ones at home. Because don't forget, we're 7. We're 7 kids at home and 4 of us were in the UK and 3 of them were back home. So they felt that, okay, with 4 of you there, at least you find your way and you sort yourselves out and then we'll take care of the 3. And then here was this one saying she wants to come back, you know, to come and join them here. So I had to reassure them that, listen, I've been very independent whilst I've been here. So don't worry about me. When I come back, you won't even feel my presence. I'm not coming to be a burden. I'm coming to survive and just pursue my dreams. They said, but why can't you pursue your dreams in the UK? That's where everybody wants to go. And I was like, I just feel that I should be back home in Ghana. That's just what I feel. And I had a lot of faith, you know, because along the line, I had become a born-again Christian. So I really had a strong sense of faith in God and in God's purpose for my life. And I just felt that God can prosper me wherever I find myself. And I don't have to be in the UK and I don't have to be anywhere. Sorry.
You answered almost all the questions I was planning on asking. I mean, that's quite detailed. Tell me, I want to find out, after talking to your family, deciding that life isn't going the way you wanted it to go in the UK, and then you're coming back. I mean, you told them not to really stress themselves about the fact that you might be a burden and that you had a plan for yourself. I want to know that plan. When you landed in Ghana that day, what was your plan B? I mean, what were you set out to do? Did you just want to survive, or you had a plan?
Okay. I left Ghana when I was 18. I spent about 3 years in the UK. I think I came back when I was about 21. And the funny thing, when all the time I was away, even my mates had gotten admission at Legon and the other universities, and that was a time where there were so many strikes. They were still not. I think they had just done like 1 year or so at university. So, I mean, it was like I hadn't even missed much, having gone away for about 3 years. So when I was coming back, my plan was, okay, if I come back to school in University of Ghana, I'm a Ghanaian, so I would have free education. So why am I worrying myself? Okay, fine. I had a dream, I had a plan to pursue a UK education. It's not working out. So why don't I think of other options? And then I thought about Ghana, that if I came back to Ghana and went to University of Ghana, I would have a free university degree. And so I could continue with my educational plan from Ghana. So that was my plan. My plan was to come back and go back to University of Ghana, which was free and would not be a burden on my parents, because here I am in the UK trying to go to school and it's not happening. So let's go back to Ghana and go to University of Ghana. My mates are there. I mean, all my mates are there. So why am I here fretting? So that was my plan. My plan was to come back, re-enroll at University of Ghana and do my economics degree there. So that was my plan. And then my plan B was that, listen, since I've been taking care of myself while I've been in the UK, I've been working. I mean, I've been working since since the age of like maybe 19, I would say. Since the age of 19, 20, I've been working. So I've been working for the past three years in the UK, taking care of myself, paying my bills and paying for my accommodation and all of that. So if I come to Ghana, I can still work. I'll find a job. So for me, I felt that I had it figured out. I was going to come back to school and get a job and not be a burden on my parents, so they can take care of the rest of the kids. I'll sort myself out. So that was the plan, really.
Throughout your childhood, I mean, from what you said, you didn't have a juicy throughout. It went down a bit, and then you picked it up from where it got broken, and then your plan came into place and you made it work. I mean, obviously we're here today because whatever plan that you took worked. What are some of the ideals and principles you developed whilst growing up? I mean, while going through all these experiences that you have, things that you still hold dear?
Like I said, I think that for me, when I look back in my youth, I think the greatest impact or influence on me, I felt, was the school I went to, which was Achimota School. I mean, those days you spend so much time in one institution. It's not like nowadays that people spend just 3 years or 2 years in senior secondary. So, the school doesn't really go through you as much as when you spend 7 years.
That's true.
Yeah, we spent 7 years. We went in Form 1, you did your O-levels at Form 5, you went back for sixth form, did another 2 years. So you spent a whole 7 years in an institution, and that institution really, really played a huge role in your life as a young, impressionable teenager. And so I feel that I owe a lot of what I am now to that foundation, that solid foundation I had in that school. That school attracted the brightest of students from across Ghana. And like I said, it was people from various backgrounds, and you had to cope and deal with all those personalities and challenges. Don't forget that it was also a mixed school. So you had to be competing with boys in class.
Exactly.
So it was really a microcosm of the world, of the real world. You had to fight for everything. You had to compete. And I remember there was a time I was competing so much with this particular guy for the agricultural prize. Oh my God. This guy was
Okay.
always taking the prize from 4-1 every time, and it's always first, and I'm second, first, second, first, second. I was like,
Wow.
why can't I just beat this guy? But you know, it was that kind of competition. It was very, very competitive, you know. And I'm happy to say that finally, at the O levels, I beat him and I got the prize.
Oh
for
wow!
science.
Congrats! Do you remember
And
his
so,
name, by the way?
sorry,
Do you remember his name?
I don't remember his name, but I know his nickname was Yellow Man. That I remember.
Yellow Man.
But I don't remember his name, you know.
Well,
But it
you
was
know
very
what?
competitive.
Wherever Yellow Man is, we owe him a little bit of this success because she was able to push you to this level by being smart.
Yeah, he did. It was very competitive. So I think Ashwata built in us a competitive spirit that can do spirit that made you feel that you can do it. You know, so for me, that's where I feel a lot of my foundation came from. And then, of course, at home as well, I mean, you had parents who were very pro education, were always encouraging us about how to be from a good family. You know, they had this family thing that this family is a good family, we don't do certain things. So you had this
That's
family standards that you had to live up to. You know, and that's something that was also a strong foundation for me, where parents ingrained in you the kind of family you are coming from and the kind of things that were expected from you as a member of society, and how you had to be careful about your actions even when you were not at home, because you didn't want to bring a bad name to your family. And that's something I feel is very missing nowadays. I see a lot of things that the young people are doing, putting out so many things on social media, and I keep asking myself, what about their families? And don't they care about their families? Don't they care about the image they are painting of themselves, and how it's rubbing off negatively on the families? I think the strong family values were also a really good guiding principle for my life, and there were strong influences in my life. The family values, societal values, and you know, in those days, it wasn't like each man for himself. Everybody was interested in everybody. Your neighbors were interested in you. So, for example, if your mother went out and, for example, and maybe a guy came to visit you at home, and maybe came to park the car in front of your house, and your neighbor saw it, oh, be rest assured, when your mother comes, somebody is telling her. So
wow.
so it was very much like that. So your neighbors were watching out for you, and they saw you in town, and they felt that you were not doing the right thing. They could scold you, you know. So there was this societal, you know, cohesion that kind of kept everybody in check, and made us always careful of doing the right things and mindful of doing the right things all the time. So I think the strong family system I came from, the family values that were ingrained in us growing up, and then also the strong influences that I gained from Ashwata School were really the source of my foundation. They gave me a strong foundation, helped to build in me the principles that I needed to survive. And also the third one being, I discovered Christ at an early age. When I went to London, I got invited to church, Action Chapel in London, and I accepted Christ as my personal savior. So I became a born again Christian. I began to study the Bible.
Wow.
And began to understand the principles of the Bible and how to really apply it to my life. I was not interested in just hearing the word. I was interested in really applying it to my life. So I took a lot of the things I read very seriously, very personally. So I a lot of the faith statements and all of that. So I always believed that there was greatness in me and there was something I could do. Obviously, you would face so many challenges, but it's in those challenging times that you really draw on your faith and you draw on your purpose so that you don't get distracted. You know, so whenever any distractions came my way, I was always very clear of my purpose and what I was meant to be and what I wanted to achieve. And I always kept going at it. And that's what carried me through most of the challenges.
One thing can't ignore is the fact that you spoke so well about the values you derive from being a part of a good family and all that. obviously it's carved you into who you are today. Let's speak about your family, the family that you have created,
Yes.
the Ayoade family.
Yes.
I'm sure you've been, doing a lot of juggling when it comes to work and family.
Yes.
Would you say it's been business as usual or extremely challenging? I mean, combining both.
Yes. It's been very challenging, very, very, very challenging. In fact, when I got married and I had to, learn how to grapple being a wife as well as somebody who was working, a working, wife, so to speak. It was so challenging for me. And I actually went to my mother and said to her that you've done me a big disservice. You didn't tell me about this. And she said, well, in those days, our parents would just say, Ebeni na beto. You say, oh, Ebeni na beto, Ebeni na beto. And I didn't understand it at that time. So as I grew up and I began to really appreciate some of the things I was going through, I always used to remember this word, Ebeni na beto, Ebeni na beto. I was like, oh my God. So this is what my mom meant when she kept saying, Ebeni na beto, So I had a conversation with her that there's so much you didn't tell us about. She said, in those days, parents didn't really used to talk so much about these things to children. You just kind of stumbled upon it and learned, as you got into adulthood. So it was really challenging, juggling, looking after, running a household, and managing expectations of a husband as well as expectations of your boss at work, and all of that. And to make things really more difficult, I got when I came back from the UK, of course, I didn't go back into university immediately because they were doing all these strikes and, school wasn't happening. So I decided to get a job. So I started working in retail. I worked in a friend's store at Adabraka. So I was a store girl. I started as a store girl in Ghana.
Wow.
Yeah. My friend had a store in Adabraka. So I'd go every day and sit in the store and help him to sell and do whatever. Because I was doing retail in the UK, so I didn't see what the problem was. So I just came in and just went to work in the store. So it was while I was working in the store that Joy FM started. So I decided that, okay, let me try and see, maybe I can be part of this, I like music, so let me go talk to them. Maybe I can play some music on radio. That's what came to mind.
Wow.
So when Joy FM started, I showed up to see Kwesi Chum, and I introduced myself to him. I gave him my CV, explained my situation to him, and he said, well, why not? Give it a go. And so I was actually tried by Tobian and Forson on radio to do reading, announcements, etc. And he said I wasn't good enough. Oh boy. I was like, oh no.
Wow.
I know I can do it. And in fact, what I really wanted to do on radio at the time was not necessarily play music. I wanted to do like interviews. I wanted to talk to people because I was very inquisitive. I wanted to just delve deep into issues and talk. But at that time, radio was all about music. That was the early stages of radio. It was all about the music and all of that. So we were not doing a lot of talk radio at that time. So I decided, well, I didn't want to be a DJ. I wanted to be an on-air personality. But at that time, I think I was too far ahead. So Kwesi, I think Kwesi saw that I had some talent or I had some determination in me. So he said, you know what, even though they say you cannot do the on-air, why don't I try you in sales? So he gave me an opportunity to join the sales team. And I was like, what's this radio sales? I don't even know what that means, So he actually gave me so much material, some reading materials. So just go home and read this. And if you think something you'd like to do and you're interested in, come back. So I went home, read through all the materials he gave me. And I went back and I said, okay, fine. I did sales in the UK, so why not? I'll try my skills here and see. So I joined the radio sales team at Joy FM. I was one of the first few people who were recruited to do radio sales at Joy FM. So that's how my foray into this media entertainment industry started. That's how I didn't even know that this industry existed, I tell you. Like I told you, when I was in school, I just was thinking about economics and this and that, because that's what they teach you in school. You learn economics, history, and all sorts of things. They don't teach you anything about it. And then the creative arts, it's always about extracurricular. They call it extracurricular activities. So you do it when there's extra time, when going down drama club, dancing club. It's never presented as a viable like career opportunity. So we never really paid attention to it. And my heart bleeds when I think of so many talented people who really could have pursued a career in the creative arts, but never got exposed to it early.
A chance to.
Yeah, because of the way we couch it in our educational system. It's a big challenge. It's something I hope I can contribute to change in the future.
One thing I pick from all this is my personal experience. I mean, I also went to the University of Ghana, did economics. Same way you went to Joy and then said you wanted to get it. I mean, if that had happened, probably you would have been one of the famous lady DJs in Ghana, DJ Tess or DJ.
Maybe a talk show personality. I really wanted to do talk.
Personality.
Yeah, I wanted to do talk.
But
yeah.
On your first try, you were told a no.
That's what I know. Yeah.
Did that break you down? Did that ever give you the thoughts of giving up on that side? I mean, if Mr. Kwesichum had not said you have other abilities I would want to explore, would you have just given up on that?
It was sad because I really felt that I could. I mean, how can I read a whole Achimota graduate or read the announcements? They are saying no. I mean,
I was up on London, Abba.
The ruffle was not a problem, So I didn't understand why they said no. But I was like, well, that's your loss. So for me, I was like, no, that's your loss. But I know what I'm worth, and I know that I can do this. But maybe you just are not ready for me. So that was my thinking then. So I didn't, even though it was a no, I didn't let it disappoint me because I felt I still had value. I still had something I had to offer. So when Kwesi engaged me, and you see that also came through in my engagement with him. So when there was a no here, he saw that, okay, probably this girl has something we can use here. So then he pushed me in that direction, and I didn't run away from it. I bit the bullet. I took it and I read it and I said, okay, bring it on. Let's take this on as well and see what we can do with it. So I started radio sales, and then I worked hard. I worked at Joy FM for I think about 3 years in Joy FM in Accra. And then they set up Love FM in Kumasi. So, I was the only girl at some points on the sales team. I mean, there was another lady before, but eventually she left. So for a long time, I was the only girl in the sales team. The sales team was full of guys, some young men, all eager to go out there. And we were making quite some good money. And when the opportunity came for Joy FM to set up Love FM in Kumasi, they came, I was approached to take up the challenge to go to Kumasi to set up the sales office, the marketing department. So it was quite a tough one because at that time I was dating my husband. So how do I leave him in Accra and then go to Kumasi? That was quite a dilemma. And that's what a lot of women face. A lot of women most of the time have to leave their loved ones to pursue their careers and to push it.
2 questions. When you decided to come back to Ghana, you mentioned earlier that you had a plan. You became a store girl at a point. And through that, you got the opportunity to pick up another job, a new job at Joy FM back then. All these switches were between a short period. I mean, how did your family respond or react to these choices you had made within such a short time? I mean, they knew you as a daughter that wanted to get into economics. Things didn't go well. You came down to Ghana and you found yourself in this new area, new field. Were they supportive?
Yes, I mean, they were very supportive because I had proven to them that I don't forget, I made a promise to them that I wasn't going to be a burden to them.
A burden on them.
I was going to find my way. And so, sorry. So to them, these were all things to show that I was really trying to find my way. So I got a job. And immediately I came. I mean, like I said, I just spent like a week at home, just relaxing. And then I called up a friend who had this shop. And I was like, oh, I'm in town. No, is there anything? I mean, can I get something to do? He said, oh, I don't have anything for you. If you can come and sit, you can come and sit in my shop. Well, my mom was like, are you sure you want to go and sit in a shop in Adabraka? I said, yes. I don't want to. I don't want to sit at home. So if I don't want to sit at home doing nothing, then I might as well just take this job. And for me, I saw it as a stepping stone. I didn't see it as the end. I just saw it as a stepping stone because I knew where I wanted to get to, but I had to start somewhere. So I saw it as, let me just step out of home. First of all, I didn't want to be sitting at home doing nothing. I mean, after being so active in the UK, when I came back, I had to do something. So, and then secondly, I've been out of circulation for about 3 years. So I needed to get back into circulation. I needed to meet people and I needed to, make some contacts and stuff like that, network and all of that. So I saw that as an opportunity to just go out there and meet people. So that was really, so you must always see the opportunity in whatever you are faced with, So I saw the positives, go out there, meet people. The money was nothing, it's a pittance, but it was just the fact that I could go out there, meet people and contribute something to the guide, whatever, just do whatever I could. So they saw my efforts not to stay at home and to go out there and do something. I mean, they appreciated that. And then from that, I came into the morning to work at Joy FM. They supported me, out there. And then I did a good job of, my opportunity that was given to me at Joy FM, and I was promoted to sales manager at Lab FM.
Okay.
So I moved to Kumasi. Oh, that was a tough one. I mean, my parents, you're moving to Kumasi, and all of that, and my boyfriend then, and it was hell, But I really stood my ground, and I said, you know what? In fact, it was like, I'd even forgotten about going back to school, because I think at that time they had even called them to go back to school with the students. But I was so much enjoying my sales career and making my money and all of that. School was so far away from me at that time, So I went to Kumasi.
Wow.
Started working as a sales manager. So I was the first sales manager at Love FM in Kumasi. We recruited the whole marketing team, set up the marketing team, trained them, and got the station running. I was in Kumasi for I think a year and a half, and then I came back to Ghana, to Accra, and I was promoted as the promotions manager in Accra. So in Accra is when I really began to do a lot more of the kind of stuff I'm doing now. I began to do entertainment activities. You are in radio. When they say you're the promotions manager, you are the one responsible for coming up with all the interesting activities, promotions, giveaways, and things like that. So it's more of marketing, and more of a marketing role than a sales role. So that was what I was doing at Joy FM till I got married to my then boyfriend. And then I decided, when I was in Kumasi, I met an old friend of mine, an old schoolmate who had gone back to school. She was in tech, So I was like, oh wow, I should get this education thing sorted though. I've left it hanging for too long. So when I came back to Accra, I went straight to apply to University of Ghana. So while I was working at Joy FM, I got the admission, and I'd gotten married. So it was too much. I was married, now trying to run a household, working full time, going to school, all these three things happening at once. So at some point I said, you know what, I think I needed to run a work schedule that would make it easier, be more flexible, make it easier for me to combine my studies with work. So I then resigned from Joy FM. And then my husband had set up a company called Multiple Concepts Group.
Multiple Concepts.
Yes, at that time, yes, that was what he was running while I was working at Joy FM. So he had then come to me, and Multiple Concept Group was actually organizing, we're doing a TV program called Agro. I don't know whether you're old enough to know Agro.
Is it Agro?
Agro, Asutrai, yeah, that was it. So he was already producing that TV program, which was extremely popular, and we're traveling all around the country. And I think there was one of the platforms that used to allow artists to perform. So most of the time, whenever an artist released any music, they would always appear on Agro as part of their promotional tour. So one of such programs, he had Lord Kenya and Achiami. They were the top, hip life artists at that time. And he said he saw them arguing backstage about who and that they should watch. If I go out there, you see the fans that I'll have more fans than you. So he was watching all this banter going on. So when he came back home, he said, "Oh, I think I have an idea. I saw these guys arguing backstage. I think Ghana is ready for a music awards that would allow the fans to determine who is the most popular." I was like, fantastic, that's a great idea. So let's get it going. So that's how the idea for Ghana Music Awards started.
Also came about.
Yeah,
Wow.
so I
Now,
left Joe FM to join him. We set up Charter House.
with multiple
And
concepts.
yeah, and the rest was history. So I was actually working full time. I was going to school as a full time student at the University of Ghana. And I was also running a household. It was tough, tough, tough. But God gave us the grace.
You did good with it.
God gave us the grace.
If you can recall,
Mhm.
what was the stage of the event industry before the inception of multiple concepts and how it's evolved, over the years? I mean, you mentioned that Agro was like the only entertainment show around. Before that, I mean, while you were there, how
Oh,
was
there
the
were
stage like?
others.
Was it
The
like
space.
this?
They had other things. They had. I remember there was the biggest event around that time was we called it the Double Do Club Pleasure.
Was
It
it
was
a
called Club
dance show?
Pleasure. Yeah, there was dance and Miss Ghana. It was two. It was both the
Yeah.
national dance and then the Miss Ghana. It was being done, I think, by Media Whiskey at that time, and it was the biggest thing that was happening in entertainment. I can tell you for sure. I mean, it used to be held at the National Theatre, and the tickets would get sold out. I mean, ages. And they used to go around the country and do they used to do regional competitions, and then to come back and do the big one in Accra. So that was the major. I'll say that was the major thing that was happening really. And then on TV there were other programs like Music for Your Dancing Feet, where they would go around to the various pubs and then have live band music playing, for people to dance. And that was really all that there was happening in
It
terms of
was.
at a large scale. I'm sure there were smaller activities going on. Yeah, there were a lot more of spinning groups, which were spinning more of jams, I would say. A lot more of jams, like daytime jams and stuff. So you always had you always hear an advert or a poster of make sounds, this sounds, just spinning at jams. I think that was the main thing. Night clubs.
Sorry to interrupt.
Jams, yeah.
When you say spinning, you mean DJing, now DJing,
DJing,
right?
yeah, DJing.
Okay.
So that was what it was, and they had things like Meet Me There. Meet Me There was huge. It was a big
Okay.
beach festival that used to happen on holidays, on big holidays. So everybody was just going to I mean, you had to just meet you there at the beach, basically. So Meet Me There was also a big activity that was happening there. Everybody, I mean, every youth went to a Meet Me There every year, And then there was also, I think, the trade fair. The trade fair also used to have lots of exhibitions. The trade fair site used to have, it was very active then. There were always one gift fairs, this, that. So many exhibitions would take place there. And alongside exhibitions, there will be jams, as we call it. DJs would come and play music and people. So that was really the scene, I'd say. And then a few concerts. I think one or two concerts were also being held. But I think one of the events that was very consistent also was Kudu Entries to the Fortnight. That was also one of those events that was very consistent. So there were just a few consistent events. And the others were mainly sporadic ones that would just come and go, come and go, come and go. That was really the entertainment landscape. Yeah.
Now, per your experience with multiple concepts, what would you describe as the key elements that has contributed to the success of multiple concepts? I mean, from multiple concepts to all the event concepts, the many successful stories up to date. What is the key element that has sustained the company till now, success-wise?
Well, Multiple Concepts was a parent company. It actually started out as an advertising company and a production company, and then it set up Charterhouse Productions as the events company. So Charterhouse Events is actually different from Multiple Concepts. So Charter House is the one that organizes the events. And what we decided when we set up Charter House was that we started with the flagship event, which was the Ghana Music Awards. But as it gained traction, we realized that there was a really huge gap in the entertainment sector, in the entertainment market. Ghana was growing. There was a growing middle income. People had more disposable income, but there was not a really structured. There were no real avenues for leisure. So we decided that we're going to explore that market. So we decided to create more content for people. And we saw what was happening in the Nigerian comedy scene, which was really growing huge. Ghana had a comedy scene, but it was still very underground, I should say. It wasn't really, we had Tobian and Forsen and Fritz Bafford. They used to have these shows, which were happening, but they were not really mainstream. So we saw what was happening in the Nigerian comedy industry, and we thought that, well, humor is humor. I mean, if somebody is talking and it's funny, you laugh, regardless of where the person came from, so long as you understood what the person was saying. So why don't we bring in some of these comedians to see whether Ghanaians would appreciate it? So we tried, and it worked, and Ghanaians loved it. So we began to. So that's when we established the comedy series, and then we began to bring them in, and then gradually we began to also discover the Ghanaian, grow a new generation of a new crop of Ghanaian comedians. So we now began to mix them up, and we were able to now to run the comedy shows. I think we are currently this will be the 15th year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are happy that we've been able to contribute to the growth of the comedy industry in Ghana. We hope that it can continue to grow. And so basically about looking at the market and seeing where the opportunities were and what would appeal to people and presenting it to them. So we did the comedy show, and then we did the Miss Malaika as well. We saw there were big pageants taking place, but we felt that we needed to create one that would make us comfortable in our own skin. We were not interested in looking for a beauty queen who was going to represent Ghana at some international pageant and be judged based on international standards of beauty. So we felt that let us find a beauty queen who would be a representation of Ghanaian youth and serve as a youth ambassador in Ghana and pursue charitable projects and be a youth icon, really. So that was clearly what we set out to do with Miss Malaika. And I'm happy to say that it's running for this year will be about the 17th year as well. And it's been going strong. It's currently the largest youth platform on social media. There's a huge following of almost 1 million combined and more. And it keeps growing. And I think the main thing with Miss Malaika is that we see it as a finishing school. It's actually a place where young people go to polish their skills and come out more refined and ready to take on the world. So that's
true. I mean, you've created a lot of
platforms,
personalities. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Platforms, personalities so far. I mean, your outfit has contributed to. It's contributed greatly to unearthing a good number of, especially on-screen media personalities. Definitely. I mean, through Miss Malaika, all the shows that you've had.
A whole lot of them. So
was this a conscious effort, or it was by chance? I mean, did you have this at the back of your mind? I mean, you mentioned that with Miss Malaika, you were not looking at doing the regular thing, picking a beauty queen to represent Ghana on an international platform. You just wanted to create a queen here to represent the youth.
Yes.
On the other side, I mean, the other people you've been able to unearth, what was the plan for them? Or it came by chance?
No, you see, whenever I wanted to do something, we looked in the market and looked for the opportunity. And then we felt that this was something that was missing. So let's go out there and provide it. So that's always the thinking. How do you stand out? What makes what you want to do different? And then how do you now present it? So even though there were so many pageants taking place, we decided to position ourselves differently. It's always about positioning yourself so that you always be remembered with in a unique way. We didn't want to always be one of the many things happening. So it's always about positioning yourself differently. So we we decided to take that approach with the Miss Malaika. And also we felt that let's give young people an opportunity, young ladies an opportunity to discover themselves, to reach into themselves and to discover their potential and project them. So if you go through Miss Malaika, so as we are going through the pageant, we are looking at the girls and we are seeing those who have potential and we give them the opportunities. So Miss Malaika serves as a launch pad to propel you. If you put in the hard work and you are ready to take what the platform offers you, you are able to take on opportunities beyond the pageant. So the whole idea is that it's not focused about just the winner. It's about the whole experience that shapes and grooms the young ladies so that they are more confident and they can step out and pursue their own careers or prospects with that confidence that they gain from being part of that pageant. And so you realize that from each year, there are always a group of young girls who come out to do so much more. Some of them are influencers on social media. Some of them are so many presenters. I mean, can talk about
TV presenters,
Vagina, Bella, Mefriye, so many of them. I mean,
Sister Deborah, all of them.
Yes, all of them, Sister Deborah, and a whole lot of them are all pursuing their careers in different areas and different fields with the confidence and the boost that they got from Miss Malaika pageant. Because it takes you from being this obscure, confused young girl to this person who wants to pursue her dreams and really want to go for it. You know, so that's I think something we've achieved with Miss Malaika. And obviously we have other platforms. So once we see that you have a talent, we take you and we provide you those opportunities. So then we push you to excel and to present yourself. So that has really been, and so there's a lot of hand holding even after the pageant. There's a lot of hand holding to help you get where you want to get to even after the pageant, and we will present you with all opportunities that we have. So you get much more from the pageants even after it's ended, so long as we are able to tap into your potential.
Great. That's amazing, by the way.
Thank
Final
you.
question on multiple concepts. I mean, you just mentioned a whole lot of things that are part of the success story of the company. But I mean, every brand, every company has its downsides. I mean, the challenges. What would you personally describe as some of the most challenging things you face as two fresh entrepreneurs, people who wanted to venture into an industry that didn't have no records? I mean, it's not like somebody had tried it privately and then it worked. What were some of the challenges you faced in the beginning?
Oh, wow. I mean, in the beginning, it was exciting because we're charting new waters and it was a world full of possibilities. So we were very young, very excited to just jump in there and, you know, explore. It was when we jumped in there and we realized that this was such a fallow ground and there were really no structures. There was really no foundation. So it was very disorientating, especially, I mean, grappling with the Ghana Music Awards from those early stages. There was a lot of hostility. There was a lot of hostility from the industry because they saw us as outsiders coming into the space to use musicians felt that we were coming to exploit them, you know, but we knew that no, we were bringing in our wealth of marketing knowledge, which is basically about branding, packaging, you know, and presenting something in a more palatable way to the consumers. So what we're doing rather is taking what you're already doing, just fine-tuning it, polishing it, and presenting it to your same fans in a different way. So we had to really explain to them, sell our idea to them. I mean, I remember I had to be going crisscrossing the whole, I mean, of Accra and at Kumasi and other cities, looking for the musicians, talking to them. I went all the way to Makola to meet Amanzaba and Akosia Japan then. I had to go all the way to look
Nacorex back then.
Nacorex then. I had to go and look for Kojointri, Dadilumba. They were just crisscrossing, just trying to sell to them the idea, and because they were our stakeholders, so we're engaging all of them It wasn't easy. I mean, you can imagine. I mean, we still don't get it easy now. I mean, you know.
Well, I mean, obviously this will be extra difficult because technology wasn't that advanced like it is now. It's not like now you can send an email and all that.
Oh, of course. And I mean, and even data, you could even get data. You know, they would accuse you of doing something. Meanwhile, you can't even find the data, you know, in the market. Our record keeping was poor. You couldn't even capture sales. You wanted to track sales of I mean, it was so difficult. So we decided to, okay, let's circumvent this and use this other way. Let's use popularity instead of sales to determine who's the best the artist of the year, you know. So we had to come up with, everywhere there was a bottleneck, we had to go around it and find a way of dealing with it so we could move forward. Because, you know, if you don't overcome your bottleneck is equal to your output. If you stop at your bottleneck, that's your output. That's it. But you always have to find a way around the bottleneck so you can move forward. So it's there have been countless bottlenecks, but you always have to find a way around it and move. And you have to also anticipate the bottlenecks so you can have your plan B, your plan C, your plan D, you know, and have a solution to get around each of them. So for each of the things we've done, they've always been bottlenecks and challenges. But the main thing being that the creative industry, I think, has been one of the most ignored industries and sectors in Ghana. And having found ourselves in there, we saw that there was a whole lot that needed to be done. But the good thing was that there was a whole lot of talent, and a whole lot of passion, you know. So we fell in love with the industry as we began to work with them and delve in deeper. We really fell in love with the industry, and we decided that we're going to dedicate some time to working with the industry and helping to see how we could make it better. So in the early stages, honestly, we had to invest a lot. A lot of our investment had to go into providing the logistics that we needed, because the market didn't have even, there were logistics to a certain level, but when you want to take it to a higher level, you just couldn't get it. In fact, there's a point where we had to be importing things from Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, just to even have a concert, to have a big concert. I remember when we were doing the Shaggy concert, we had to bring in equipment from Nigeria or Togo or we had to bring in things from just our neighboring countries just to be able to raise the bar and to take it to a higher level. So that was really how bad things were. So we had to invest along the line. We had to invest in the logistics. We had to invest in all the production equipment, everything we needed to have to present whatever we wanted to present in a certain light. We had to invest in it. And usually that's not the way. Usually, if you are an event organizer, you have the ideas, you have to go into the market and you went from logistics suppliers, you know. You don't have to invest your own money to get a stage. But things were quite difficult at the early stages, so we had to invest and get all those things done. But I'll say that once we did that and we got going, people began to see the opportunities in the industry, and a lot more people have entered the industry. There's a lot more logistics available now. So at least, I mean, if you want to do an event now, you can easily find the logistics you need at a snap of a finger. But can you imagine 20 years ago? It wasn't the same. So those were the challenges we had to go through to achieve the picture we saw in our minds. And I must say that it's been a good ride. It's been a good ride. It's been challenging. Sometimes I sit back and I look and I'm like, whoa, where did 20 years go? You know, we turned 20 in February. You know, so where did 20 years go? When you look back along the journey, you're like, God has been good, and we thank Him for holding our hand through that journey, and to still keep holding our hands now, and the future looks bright. I mean, we've had a big shake up with COVID, but
that was going to be the next thing I talk about. I mean,
unexpected and unprecedented. Yes. I mean, we haven't worked since March. You won't believe it. We have not done anything since March. We just did the virtual concert, the COVID-19 Heroes concert. That's the only event we've done. But we haven't worked as like a profitable business since March. We haven't. and we are still trying to figure out the best way forward. But we believe that it's a time to recalibrate. So we are re-strategizing, and we'll come back bigger and stronger.
I was gonna find out the plan B, plan A, C, D, as you mentioned, for the company. I mean, since COVID came in, but just give us a brief insight into how the experience was like. I mean, how the team reacted to COVID-19. We just woke up and we heard the virus had come somewhere far away, and then now it's with us. It's stored everything. It's affected all the industries, including the events industry. I mean, how did your team react to it when it came? What were the plans you guys had down for the year, and how are you going about it now? You just mentioned that it's been 3 months of zero work, but I mean, the rest of the months, what are we seeing?
I mean, it's COVID has just been terrible for our industry. You know, our industry, the events, tourism, hospitality, aviation industries, we have been the industry that has the most hits with this pandemic, because we absolutely cannot work. You know, other industries have been hit by reduced demand. You know, reduced demand because of general reduction in purchasing power. You know, but for us, we have not worked at all. And you know, way before lockdown started, officially, our industry was on lockdown. As soon as it was announced that there was a ban on public events beyond 20 people, that was it. Our industry was on lockdown. And even though the allowances have been increased to about, the restrictions have been increased to about 100 people, but the serious erosion in confidence in gathering and the social distancing that we are promoting, of course, I mean, rightly so, to curb the spread of the virus, is not working for our industry. So our industry has still not picked up. And we envisage that it's going to take probably up to 2 years for our industry to get back to where it used to be before. So our industry is in dire straits, serious dire straits. And we are working together as an industry to come together to see how we can pick ourselves up. We've come up with events guidelines, working with the Ministry of Tourism. We've come out with COVID-19 guidelines for holding events, so that, and we've all signed to it, so that everybody who is organizing an event knows that we must follow these procedures and guidelines, so that we can we can ensure and we can assure our patrons who will be attending some of these events that they'll be safe. Safety is key. So, and also we are licensing through the Ministry of Tourism all event organizers and event vendors to ensure that there's standardization in the services that we offer, and that's and that we can always provide a certain minimum standard and quality for each event, which will take into consideration a lot of health and safety issues. You know, so we are working together as an industry to come out of it. A whole lot still needs to be done. We need to rethink how we do events going forward. But it's just sad to think that a whole value chain, honestly, you cannot imagine the impact of this, because we see just the events, but do you know what it takes to make one event happen?
Yes.
You know, to make one event happen, so many players are involved. For example, the Ghana Music Awards, I mean, if you talk about the entire event value chain, we, as a company called Charterhouse, we already have about 80 staff, okay? So we have 80 people working full-time in a company. And then all these people are not working. Can you imagine? Then you now have all these contract workers who are brought in to work on projects. For example, the Ghana Music Awards works with about 800 contract workers. So you can imagine all these people are not working. Then this is just one event. So you can imagine all the other events that are not happening, the multiplier effect. So these contract workers are not working. Then you now have the vendors, those who provide services for the events industry, like the caterers, the MCs, the artists, the sound providers. I mean, you have the musicians I mean, who would get hired to perform at events and functions? They're all not working. Then the sound companies, the lighting companies with all their stuff, the
The decor
staging companies, the
companies.
decor, the decoration companies, the
Wow.
rental companies that provide the chairs and all the logistics, the security companies. So many people in that value chain are not working because events are not happening. The contract workers you talk about, the ushers, the hostesses, the promoters, and all these people who make money just from events so they can pay their school fees, and it's just crazy. I mean, the entire value
Wow.
chain has been affected. I mean, the venues that will be rented are all not getting an income. And that's where the hotels also get affected, because then if people are not going to hotels to organize events, then they cannot, the waiters and the, you know, the cooks and the chefs and all the hotel staff, what do they do with them? You know, so the whole ecosystem has been totally affected, and it's going to be a slow recovery, a slow and painful recovery. Um, we are hoping, we are praying that we have the resilience as an industry, and we will come out of it, but it's going to take a long time, and that's why we are
It's going
appreciating
to take a
all the
longer time.
efforts that government is doing to support us. I know they've released some funding through the NBSSI, and there's also some funding through the tourism industry. And I think today I heard them saying that there's going to be more funds released to support businesses. So it's one industry that is seriously hit, and we are just lobbying for all of these funding to come through to support the industry, because the industries cannot collapse. The companies cannot collapse. The companies
No.
need to survive through this period, so that when things get better, we can bounce back. If we don't prop up these companies to survive, then when things come back, I mean, there'll be nobody to do anything. So that's what we are trying to do now, just to keep our heads up to survive. A lot of people we've laid a lot of people off. A lot of people have been furloughed
Yeah.
from the companies. Yeah, keeping this minimal stuff just to keep our heads up. Yeah, but we are strategizing, and we'll come back. We'll come back, trying to embrace the new digital future. And most important thing is, how do we monetize digital events? Because I mean, it cannot continue to be free. Right now, all the concerts and all the things that are being done digitally seem to be free, but that's not a model. That's not a sustained model. If we cannot meet physically and we have to meet digitally, then there should be some compensation for the parties involved, the organizer, the artists, and all of that. But where is the monetizing model? So
Right.
that's where we
Exactly.
are now, trying to find how to monetize our digital events, so that at least if you put out something digitally, you should be able to get some compensation for it. So that's something we are cracking. And then, of course, I mean, as the restrictions get increased, we can reduced. Sorry, we can then begin to expand the number of live events that we have. But it's necessary for us to find a way to quickly come back. Otherwise, the industry is just not going to come back.
Antithesis,
yeah.
tell me about MPAG. Apparently, there's an association called MPAG.
Yes.
I want to know what the bigger picture is for the association. If there are any collaborations with industry players, like you did in the past, that pertains to the association and the larger entertainment fraternity. Tell us about it.
Yes, the reason why the MPAC is basically the Events and Meetings Professionals Association of Ghana. We've come together to form an association so that we can advocate for the protection and the growth of our industry, because we believe that events play a huge role in the events industry, plays a huge role in the nation's economy. We contribute so much to the nation's economy through the services that we offer, and we need to work together to sustain the industry, and work together with government to sustain the industry, and to bring the industry to government's notice, because somehow we realized that, like you said, like I said, when I was in school, I didn't even know that there was an industry called the events industry. So we need to promote the industry, let people understand what it's about, the kind of professions and careers available in the industry, and how to get properly trained for it, as well as how to work together as an association to protect and to grow the industry, to protect our interest and to grow the industry. And of course, during this period, we are also advocating and lobbying for support, government support of the industry so we can sustain it and keep it alive till things pick up. So that's basically what MPAC is about. And our collaborators are the Ministry of Tourism and Arts and Culture and other marketing association and other business bodies. So we are building the relationships and educating people really about the industry and the benefits of the industry and its contribution to the economy.
Apart from the interventions the government has laid down or initiated to sustain businesses in these hard times, as an association, are there any specific suggestions, maybe as a leader in there, things you personally think the government should put into action in its efforts to reduce the impact of COVID-19 on the event industry? Are there anything extra you think the government should do?
Well, I think that definitely the government needs to I understand our industry and needs to understand the peculiar situation that we find ourselves in. That's the first thing, because even though we are part of the tourism and hospitality industry, our needs are unique, and it takes some bit of understanding to see where we are coming from. And there's a whole lot of people in that industry, so that's what we have actually been advocating to our ministry, for them to understand us as an industry and a sector of the hospitality industry, and to understand how we can work together to keep us going. So we are working on that, and then we are also working on licensing the industry to bring some sanity, because we realize that everybody gets up and says, I'm an event organizer. Well, based on what? So really, we should get to a point where if you are not licensed, you cannot organize an event. And to obtain the licensing, you must go through some certification processes. And so no one just gets up and says, I'm an event organizer. You can see, sometimes you're driving in town, you see a signboard, printing, advertising, events, management.
Events.
How can you be a printer and be an event manager? You are just printing a stationery. So because a stationery is used by an event as an invitation or a brochure, then you're an event manager. I mean, that's how who calls themselves a banker just because you're handling money, so we need to bring sanity to the industry and increase the barriers to entry a little bit so that people can work with certified events companies. And so we're working with the Ministry of Tourism to implement that certification. It's ongoing now. And also people who supply services to the event industry, the vendors. We also have a lot of substandard vendors in the market. Everybody is setting up anything. And there's a lot of safety involved in event management, because when you bring people together, you have to ensure their safety. So we are working to come up with health and safety standards, as well as certification of equipment and stuff that are used to support the industry. If you are a caterer, you must be certified to cater for events. You don't want to go to an event and leave with a running stomach. What are the hygiene levels? And also things like that all need to be standardized and certified. So we are really working together with government to bring sanity to the industry. And I must say that if there's anything positive thing that has come out of COVID, it is these things that we are doing as an industry. So in every situation, you've got to find the silver cloud, the silver lining in every cloud, I guess. So that's what I would say has been a good thing out of this situation, where we've, as an industry, been forced to pause and, like I say, recalibrate for the future. So that's what we are doing right now. But we miss our events. I'm sure you do, don't you?
I miss our events. I'm personally an MC too. Towards the end of the year, you get a lot of booking. Put aside the money, it's an opportunity for you to meet a lot more people. I mean, grow a fan base that will be stronger in the coming months. I mean, months and years after. But now, all that has been stalled. But I mean, personally, I'm super hopeful. It's my hope comes from the constant work people like you are putting into making sure that the future is better than what we have today. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we miss it, but I know it's definitely coming back.
You know, we are human beings are meant to be together. You know, we are social animals. We don't function well alone, you know, and socially distanced. That's why it's quite difficult for people to even, you know, people can wear the masks, but the social distancing is the most difficult part, I think, because your natural tendency when you're even talking to somebody is to stand close, you
Yes.
know, so even standing afar is quite a challenge. You can imagine places like the nightclubs and the pubs and the restaurants, etc., where people stand close, you know, so it's just really very disruptive for a lot of us in the sector. But I believe that, you see, I think that we can all help make this go quickly if we can
Yes.
all quickly just follow the safety guidelines, you know, the
Yes.
COVID-19 guidelines of wearing a mask, social distancing, washing your hands, sanitizing. If we can all just do this, just do the right thing, take personal responsibility, I believe that we will really get rid of this quickly. But so long as people, you know, continue to not respect the guidelines and continue to not follow the protocols and continue to do the wrong things, that's where it's worrying. How soon are we going to get out of this? Because the cases are escalating and there's a lot of wanton behavior. So I really, really want to call on you, the media, to support government's efforts to educate people, you know, to really just do the right thing so that we can get out of this quickly and our lives can go back to normal. You know, the more we prolong doing the right thing, the longer it's going to take, and the more resources are going to be used to fight this disease instead of supporting industry. You know, so it's quite worrying in that aspect. But as we say, God day.
We're definitely gonna bounce back. Yeah, good. Let's move off events and talk about TV and content. I mean,
Okay.
there's been a lot of concerns on the fact that a lot of foreign content is found on our television stations on prime time
Yep.
periods these days. As a content creator, an industry player, what is your opinion keeping television prime time for local content, and how can we ensure foreign content is minimized? Is there a conscious effort? What can we do?
It's terrible. I mean, you know, Channel House specializes in events and audiovisual production. So far, my conversation with you has been mainly on events. Another unit that, I mean, in Channel House focuses on audiovisual productions. And actually, we, for, till recently, I mean, for some time back, we were actually the largest independent production company. Because, you know, usually you'd have the TV stations and they would produce content for their stations. But then you also have independent producers who would produce content and supply to TV stations. And some time back, we were actually the largest independent production house because we were producing at least about 8 titles that were running on TV on different channels across the country. And that was about 10 years ago. And that was when local content was king. Local content was thriving. But it looks like as the years go by, we've thrown all caution to the wind and we just want to fill our airwaves with the easiest thing we can lay our hands on. And I mean, there's no value placed on quality content. So we had to basically virtually collapse that side of our business. We went from independent production to owning a TV station where we set up GH1. We were the original owners of GH1 TV. And we did that because we had so much content that we're producing and we had so many creatives coming to us. Oh my God, if you know the amount of creative talent we have in Ghana, but because we don't respect our locally generated content and we don't protect our local generated content, they are not able to express themselves and put out the quality stuff they have in mind. So when we set up GH1, as a matter of fact, we were one of the proponents of local content. we gave priority to local content. We partnered local production companies to put content on air. And that is what contributed to the quick and fast growth of GH1 in those days, you know. And unfortunately, we got out of TV because we realized that we were really strong at developing content and not necessarily, we didn't want to get bogged down with running a channel. We really just wanted to focus on content. So we got out of running the TV station and decided to focus on our audiovisual content. And that is where everything collapsed. Because having the TV station, you had the channel to put the content that you're generating, but not having the TV station, you had the content, but there was nowhere to put it. So gradually, all our content died down. We had content like we had Guess Who's Coming for Dinner, we had the Miss Malika TV series, we had Master Sports, we had Agro, we had, I mean, It Takes Two, I mean, so many, you name it. We had a challenge, so much content, but all of that had to be, it's just lying down, can't happen. We even built a studio. We have one of the largest independent TV studios in Ghana, but it's sitting down there, not being used. You know why? Because we don't have room to put the content. The TV stations are filling their channels with all sorts of foreign content. And you know what? The foreign content is so cheap. I mean, when you run a telenovela that has run in Mexico or Brazil for years, they've gotten all their money from it. Then they bring it to Africa, sell it to us for $100 an episode. Obviously, that's cheaper for the TV station. So they'll pay for that, put it on their TV, and then shun local content. Because to produce one episode of local content, you'll spend not less than 5,000 cedis. Yes. 5,000, 6,000, that's about $1,000, really, to produce one episode of local content. That's just to produce. And then to put it on air, they'll charge you for airtime. Whereas in other parts of the world, they will be buying the content from you. So in Ghana, we have everything is flipped on its head, and doesn't make sense. When we were running GH1, people were not paying for content. We rather you bring the content, and then we partner with you on the revenue that comes from that we can generate from the content. But it's not the same. Now, when you take a content to a TV station, they want you to pay. So first of all, you have to find money to produce the content, and then find money to pay the TV station for airtime to put the content on. And that model is the only model that runs in Africa. That's not run in any part of the world. And so we've got it the other way wrong, we've gotten it wrong. And it's a model that does not grow the local industry. And it's so sad that our children are growing up watching all these foreign contents, foreign culture, and they have no sense of reference for our own culture. We are not telling our own stories. We are not inspiring and motivating our children with what they see around them every day. When they turn on TV, all they're seeing is kum kum baja. And what's even annoying is seeing an Indian trying to speak Cree. I mean, it's such a culture misappropriation that it should be banned. But we just watch it up. So our lack of regulation and lack of enforcement of regulation, we are destroying the creative industry.
Which is what I want us to talk about. I mean, as a body that is a big stakeholder in our industry, aren't there any ways through which there could be regulations by which these television brands can operate? Maybe show an X percentage amount of local content and do the rest for any other content you want to do. Can we not regulate that? Can we not pitch it to the government?
I think that there are we already have regulations like that, but it's the enforcement. They're not being enforced. The laws exist. They are not new laws. They exist already, but they are not being enforced. So it's more about how do we come together to lobby for the enforcement of these laws. Because I tell you, if we are able to come up with these enforcement of these laws, that will make sure that these policies are working. You see how much unemployment there will be in Ghana. Because if TV stations say that, listen, we are going to accept 70% local content, or if there's a law or government enforces the law that says that local content on all our media networks should be 70%, Do you know how much Ghanaian music you'll be playing on YFM? And just the fact that you are looking for Ghanaian music will make people produce more music. And as they produce more music, it's creating employment. That's one. Two, if the TV stations in Ghana, there's a law that says that show 70% local content, 30% foreign. And you know, in Nigeria, they have this law where they do this 70-30%, and they do it especially for peak time. So in peak time, which is from maybe 8 to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., you can show only local content. And then after that, you can show your foreign content. So at least when people are sitting at TV and have their eyeballs, you will see only Nigerian generated content. And that is why, that is how they were able to grow Nollywood, because they had to have content. The actors were employed, producers, writers, directors, stage hands, etc. They were all, you know, set designers. They were all employed. Created jobs.
They all basically went into high demand.
Yes, because they were now creating local content, and then from there they moved into movies. And so they're feeding with short dramas, movies, game shows, local content. So they have a very vibrant industry. We sit here and we admire it. But it came from policies that drove the growth of the industry. And through that, they were able to sell their culture. Now, every rich woman, when in Ghana, when they're showing rich women, they have to tie gilly. You know, it's supposed to be a symbol of being rich, but it's somebody's culture. It's not our culture.
Yes.
So if we don't create these policies that protect our industry and our culture, we are going to grow or breed a lost generation, which I think is where we are now. I mean, we don't create, we're not telling our stories on TV. We're not telling our stories on movies because there's just no impetus. Everything is just dead. You know, there was a time when we used to grow up watching Inspector Bediako,
yes,
all sorts of good drama.
Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver. We watched things like what do you call it? Even the dramas, Akan drama, showcasing guy, Tree. We watched so much. But it's all disappeared. Everything has disappeared from TV. Because we are not, the whole industry is not being regulated, it's not being monitored, it's just been left for a free for all. You know, when there's a free for all, business people will go for the cheapest option. But you have to force them to do the right thing to stimulate the demand. And that's where we are right now. But a good thing is that I saw that, I think yesterday, the Minister for Tourism and Arts and Culture had launched, inaugurated a committee or so for local content. So I'm going to follow up on that, but I believe that that's the beginning of good things to come. That's the beginning of a turnaround for our industry. So we are watching closely. But for us as a business at Charterhouse, our audiovisual production section for TV content and content production, I can tell you, is the lowest. It's practically dead. It's practically dead. We have the studio is dead. We have equipment sitting there. It's not working. The content we have is sitting there. Nothing is stimulating us to invest our time and energy in it because you struggle before you can even get it out. And so we channel energies to other areas. But it just shows you that so many people, can you imagine people who are being trained in performing arts at Legon, people who are going to NAFTI and being trained in this sector, and they can't get jobs because we are filling our airwaves with
foreign content.
Kunkum Baja and all sorts of things. Yeah, all these telenovelas. You know,
you particularly seem to hate that one.
I don't like it at all. Why would you get an Indian soap and get people to do a local voice dub? It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Can we blame this on the influx of a lot of TV brands? I mean, back then when it was just a few companies running this business, I'm sure a situation like this was never a case.
No, I don't think. I don't think
have the chance to do it.
Well, I mean, there are too many TV channels. It has its own problems, but because there's not enough advertising money in Ghana anyway. So there are too many TV channels, just, split the markets, which is not really good. But if the forces of demand and supply work, then obviously the money will go to where the good content is. But if the TV channels are not forced to toe a certain line, then they'll do what profits their pockets, which is go for the cheap episodes of these foreign contents, $100, $50 an episode. I mean, can you imagine you can pay $50 for one episode of this soap? That's $50 at 300 CDs, or even 500 CDs for one episode. And then to produce one local content, you're spending almost 5,000 CDs. Which one will you choose? You choose the 500 CDs one because you want to make your profits. And this 500 CDs one is still going to be sold to an advertiser for 5,000 CDs. So you make so much profit. So you go for the cheaper one. But if the law prohibits you from doing that, you will be forced to produce the local content and even get more innovative around it, And then as more people produce the content, the cost of production will go lower. Then it's better for everybody. So it's a whole big conversation around this, but we hope that the process has started and we can see some leeway light at the end of the channel. I mean, we are creatives and we love the creative industry, and we know there's so many. Ghana has so much creative talent, but unfortunately, we are not allowed. I believe that Ghana has robbed itself of the value of its creative talent through all these things that are going on. We have a wealth of creative talent that can really contribute to Ghana's economy. But if we don't create the opportunities in the channels, we will never see them. I mean, if your child comes to you and, my heart goes out to parents of creatives. Honestly, I think about it and I'm like, what kind of dilemma is it when your child comes to you and tells you that I want to sing or I want to act? And you look at the industry and you're like, oh my God, I want better for my child. You get where I'm coming from?
I do.
You look at our industry, it doesn't motivate you, it doesn't inspire you. That's because our sector has been long overlooked. But I believe that, the time for advocacy is now. And if we do it now, we can create a better industry for our future creatives. But so there's hope. There's definitely hope.
That's the word. I like that. There's hope. You are a member of the Executive Women's Network, EWN, and the convener of the National Women's Summits. How are these organizations helping to empower women, especially young girls?
Well, the Executive Women's Network is a network of women in executive positions across the country, from C-suite upwards. And we felt that as women, we had to come together to share our unique experiences as women, to inspire, to motivate, and to empower the next generation of women. So we do a lot of advocacy, we do a lot of mentoring of the next generation, because we're really worried and concerned about the portrayal of women, especially through social media, where we have a lot of these slay queens, a lot of these ladies flashing quick acquisitions. And we really wanted to encourage them to share our stories, and I'm happy I'm doing this with you, so that we can encourage the next generation of women that, listen, you don't have to flaunt your body, you don't have to sell your body, you don't have to wait for a man to do anything for you. As a woman, you are innately blessed, uniquely blessed, and you can go out there and carve your own path, and also chart your own path and carve your own, future. So we're here to just motivate and encourage the young people. We do a lot of sessions, we do a lot of conferences and engagements to just keep the conversation going. And on my part, personally, I established the National Women's Show, the National Women's Conference, because I really wanted to create a huge platform for women to have big conversations about womanhood. Unfortunately, we couldn't hold it this year because of the issues going on currently. And we also have a mentoring arm that goes around to secondary schools to engage with young ladies. Like I keep saying to you, I felt that my years at Champion School really impacted my life. they kept bringing
Yes.
speakers, people to speak to us, to inspire us, to motivate us. And you know, in your teenage years, you are in your formative years. You are very curious about the world. You have big dreams, hopes, aspirations. So that's a very fertile period when you are watered well.
That's true.
When you are really watered well and guided right, I think it will provide a very strong foundation that really guides you. It guides you in your life. So when you're faced with different challenges being thrown at you, it kind of gives you that foundation to stay true to yourself and stay true to your path. So learning from what I went through, I felt that the area I could really impact the most was in the high schools, the secondary schools. So annually we do tours around the high schools. I go with some of my EW and I partner with EWN and we go with executive women to these schools. They recount their high school stories and they recount how they got to where they are and how they are pushing the ceilings wherever they are. But the ethos of it all is the hard work. We really want them to understand the hard work that goes into getting wherever you want to get to. And there's no shortcuts, there's no easy road. And most importantly, that you will get there is little steps. So don't rush to get it all now. Take it your time, take it step by step. Achieve your little milestones and you will get there. So if you see me here, it's because I took a journey. It was a journey and I'm here now. So your journey starts now. So take your time and take it step by step. Pick yourself up when you fall down, brush off, look for somebody to mentor you and just keep going. So that's really what we intend to do. We do with the mentoring, the high school mentoring program. And it's amazing to see. I feel that even if one person is touched or is inspired through that session, I'm happy.
Great. Thank you so much. You said a lot. I mean, at this point, I even feel like wrapping up because we've had so much from you. But let me just touch about a few more questions and then we go. Now, there's been comments from industry players and followers of the creative arts industry space that suggest that Ghana's creative arts industry is underdeveloped compared to others within the West African sub-region and African states in general. Are these assertions true? If so, what do you think accounts for this? I mean, the general overview, when people see the industry, they realize its growth is stunted compared to other places. What do you think accounts for this?
I mean, it's very true. I mean, I've operated in the industry for 20 years and it's very true, very, very true. And I mean, some progress has been made. I mean, I think if you look at the music industry, at least, I think the younger musicians are doing really well. They're doing really well, even though the model has changed. The model for the industry has changed generally, but I believe that they're actually trying their best. They are doing quite well in the light of the circumstances. There's a whole lot more that could have been happening if we had a more structured industry. The industry lacks a lot of structure. The ecosystem is not clear. And a lot of it comes from the educational system. I think the educational system has not focused on the creative industry properly. And so as a creative, if you discover your creative talents in Ghana, let's say if you're in high school and you discover that you are creative, ask yourself, what are the options to further your creative skills in Ghana? They're very limited. So you have a lot of people who are operating the creative industry with just sheer talent. And talent is raw, is a gift, but it needs to be honed, it needs to be polished, it needs to be fine-tuned. But that's what we lack. So we are dealing with a lot of people with raw talent. And when it's just raw talent, sometimes it lacks depth and reach. So you realize that people just go to certain points, they rise to certain points, and then they plateau, and that's it. So that's
That's
what's
it.
that's what's happening. So the lack of structure in the industry, the lack of a clearly structured ecosystem, and the lack of a clear educational system regarding the creative industry, I think is what has led to this problem. So the question is, what do we do about it? What do we do about
Yes.
it? We can continue to engage with government and the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture is our sector ministry. There have been calls for a possible separation of the industry, of the creative industry from the Ministry of Tourism, because continually hiding it under the Ministry of Tourism continues to make it a sub,
That's true.
sorry, a sub industry.
So this part is from our listeners. I have this messaging from Samson. He works at Zenith Bank headquarters. Says, I always thought you were a Nigerian, madam. His question is, if the opportunity falls before you to pick up position for Minister of Creative Arts and Culture, would you pick it?
Thank you. You thought I was Nigerian. No, I'm Ghanaian.
Yes.
I'm Ikrapim. I'm from Latte.
Okay.
But my husband is Nigerian. So
Okay.
we have our own little ECOWAS going on in my house. Yeah.
Wow. So would you pick it? Would you pick the position if you are approached to become the Minister of Creative Arts?
I'm very passionate about the creative industry because I've operated in it for 20 years and I see its potential, and I think there's a lot I can do. So definitely, I mean, if you're called to serve your country in any capacity, and if it's a capacity in which you have expertise in and you believe in, why not? Don't forget that I told you that one of my driving principles is impact. I feel I must have impact wherever I am. So it's definitely something I could do at this stage in my life. Maybe much earlier in life when I was busy building my business, I probably would have not considered it. But at this stage in my life, why not? We are here to serve.
That's great. Final set of questions. What legacy would you want Madame Theresa Ayoade to be remembered for? I mean, 5 years to come, if we mention Madame Theresa Ayoade, what would you want to be known for?
Okay. I would want to be known as an advocate for the arts. I think I would really want to be known as an advocate for the arts. I believe that the arts have been totally marginalized in this part of the world. And I believe that there's a whole group of people whose future is in the arts. And by marginalizing the arts in our whole national perspective, or even in our educational curriculum, in our economic planning, and everything that makes us a country, by marginalizing the arts, we are actually marginalizing a whole group of people. And I feel that is unfair. I feel that is unfair because some people are just creatives and they are destined to perform in the arts. Look at the Western world. I mean, if we know that, we all know the power of the arts, because even sitting in Ghana here, all of us have been influenced by the arts from all parts of the world. Before we even sat in the plane, we knew everything about America. We wear their clothes, which is the arts. We wear their clothes, we wear their fashion, that is part of the arts. We listen to their music, it's part of the arts. We watch their movies, we watch their TV programs, it's part of the arts. We watch the same for Bollywood, we watch the same for Nigeria. It's the arts. The arts are huge drivers of economies. But in this part of the world, they are the most marginalized, and it's so sad. So I really want to see myself as a creative arts advocate. And I value the arts, I really cherish the arts, and I respect everybody who's an artist. And I I pray that, I mean, in the latter part of my career, I really want to dedicate that to advocacy for the arts, and creating a better future the for artists, for the next generation of artists. I feel that the ones that went before us, the ones that are current, have no choice but to live with what we have. But what can we do now to make it better for the future creatives of Ghana? And that's what I think about. And I will be dedicating a lot of my time towards helping to build a better ecosystem for the creative industry, working with all necessary stakeholders and partners who are interested and who appreciate the value of the arts, to work together to bring some sanity and to create a better future for the next generation. Because a lot of people don't understand the art. It takes the creative to understand the creative. And unfortunately, most of the policymakers are not creative, so they don't understand us. So that's where there's a difficulty. So how do we break through that? It takes us coming together as a collective, working as a collective, as creatives, taking matters into our own hands and trying to redefine our future. And then we can now engage with the policymakers, and through advocacy, we should be able to create a better ecosystem which will present a better future for our future creatives. So we live with what we have, but let's make it better for the next generation. That's what I believe.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you so much for this opportunity, for spending time with us. I like that final smile there. Before we wrap up, for young ones aspiring to venture into the industry you've been able to conquer, to all our listeners, the very many young listeners out there in various fields wanting to succeed, to get through the tough times, what advice do you have for them? What final words do you have for them today?
Sorry, to succeed and get through the tough times.
Yes, all of us. All of us out here who are not quite sure about where we want to land in the next moment. For all of us.
Okay. So I would say that, okay. First of all, I think you need to, what works for me is trying to define my vision, my personal vision. What do I see in the future? Where do I see? You must have a vision of yourself. You must have that big picture. That big picture that drives you, that you aspire to be, that you want to get to. Once you have that personal vision, I think it has the power to drive you. So find that personal vision. Find that thing that will make you happy. That's, if you would make you happy, that would make you feel that you've achieved, that would make you feel satisfied and worthy. Find that personal vision, define it, and paint a picture of it. And people even do like vision boards. If you want to put it out on the vision board, put it on the vision board, but draw that picture and let that picture guide you. Know that as you work towards that picture, there will definitely be pitfalls, there will definitely be bottlenecks, there will definitely be challenges. But once you keep your eye on that ball, I believe that is what gives you that passion and the drive and determination to get there. So yeah, just go for it. Have that vision and go for it.
All right. Thank you so much, Auntie Theresa, for spending time with us. We hope you had a good time. We enjoyed every bit of the conversation. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for having me.
I look forward to having another conversation with you, though.
Thank you. This has been one of my best interviews.
Yeah.
Very in-depth and really allowed me to express myself. So thank you for having me. And I hope that I've inspired the next generation to great.
You definitely have. Thank you so much, and I enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right.
Congratulations, you found the one station that plays Ghana's best urban music.
YFM.
Listen to YFM 107.9 Accra, 102.5 Kumasi, and 97.9 at Takoradi.